And that's the thing that people don't understand is that socialism actually hurts the very people that it's supposed to be helping. Now, we've got this socialist Alexandria Ocasio Cortez in New York who, God forbid, gets any more clout or power than she thinks she already has. She's a legend in her own mind. But she's the deer in the headlights. If you see her, she's always like, she doesn't want to debate anybody. Ben Shapiro has offered to pay tens of thousands of dollars, right, to her campaign. Other people have as well, if she'll just debate them, and she won't do it because she's a good socialist. And she knows that socialism cannot be defended. You cannot defend the indefensible. Socialism defies all common sense. It obliterates freedom, and I'm all about freedom, man. I tell you that all the time on my podcast. I'm all about freedom. So she's trying to portray herself as one of the working people, right? And she's lamenting the closure of the coffee shop in Union Square in New York. And this is the show. I never watched Sex in the City, but it was on HBO, Sex in the City, and I guess it became famous. It's going to close down after almost 30 years. Any month now, it's going to shut down. And the co-owner and the president, Charles Malite, I believe is how you say his name, has said that the rents are high and that the minimum wage is going up and they have a huge number of employees and they can't sustain the costs. Now, she's trying to turn this into an example of corporate greed. Corporate greed. They're raising the prices. Well, that's called capitalism, Miss Cortez. That's called capitalism. The value of a property goes up and then you can charge more for it. Everybody does it, even liberals like you. They do that all the time. If you can rent a storefront out and you know it's worth $10,000 a month, you'd be an absolute idiot. Or maybe you have enough money in the bank and you don't care and you're independently wealthy, which most of us are not, and you would just charge maybe 80% below market value. But if you can get that storefront for $10,000 a month, there are very few people, including any liberal in Congress, that would charge $1,000 a month. They would get that $10,000 a month. If you could sell your car, why do we blue book value our cars? Because we try to get the most for our car that we can. We don't try to get the least amount. And liberals do that too. They look at the blue book and they go, wow, I could sell my old Chevy pickup truck and I can get $7,000 in this condition. So I think I'll sell it for $400. Nobody in their right mind, anybody who's trying to make a buck anyway from the sale, is going to do that. So this restaurant that's been iconic in New York, I guess, for almost 30 years, is closing. And the rise in the minimum wage is putting people out of work. There's no question about it. I have kids who are in college, going to college, about to go into college, and going into some of their first jobs. And it's very, very difficult. They don't understand oftentimes, and I say they, I don't mean my children, I mean the generation of the millennials and the generation after the millennials, whatever that is. They don't understand that the more they call for an increase in the minimum wage, the more they're signing their death certificate in terms of employment. Because minimum wage, I know deep down that liberals know what it is about and why it was created. It was created for low-skilled, entry-level people, largely students, largely people that were trying to get their foot in the door to be able to move up in a company. In other words, someone with low skills, with not a lot of education behind them, could get a job, and that was what the minimum wage was intended for. It was never, contrary to what they're trying to tell us now, it was never intended for a 50-year-old with 6 kids in college. It was never intended to try to pay for your business expenses. It was never made to pay the rent, let alone a mortgage on a nice house. It was never intended for any of those things. It was intended to get your foot in the door so that you could advance. Nobody wants to advance anymore. Whenever these people march in the streets, these people at McDonald's and other fast food who, let's just face it, have very few skills, have very little table manners and very little bedside manners, and very little education, when they're out there demanding wages and they're talking about their job making hamburgers as if they're somehow brain surgeons or they're about to land a probe on Jupiter. It's absolute insanity. We have some people in these businesses making more money than our entry-level veterans do in the military, for God's sakes, and that's a fact. These people are now asking for more money than some in the military are making, and they're putting their lives on the line potentially. And what are they doing? They're microwaving hamburgers and automating French fries to go into the fryer and to beep when they need to come out. Let's just be honest here. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm not belittling employment, but $15 an hour is absolute stupidity. to pay somebody at a McDonald's, unless you're a manager. It's absolute stupidity. And what's happening is you go into a lot of McDonald's, and I'm sure Ocasio-Cortez has noticed this in New York or anywhere else, that they have kiosks now. They have kiosks where you key in what you want. I want a Big Mac. I want to supersize it. I want a Coke. I want a Fanta. I want this. I want that. No fries. And someone calls your number and it's ready. Pretty soon they won't even need that person calling the number. It'll all just be automated. There's a restaurant in San Francisco where I was born and raised. I know it's shocking, isn't it? I was born and raised in San Francisco, the socialist mecca of the West Coast, maybe the world. There's a restaurant down, I believe, on Market Street or the financial district, somewhere in there. That's the first of its kind, really, where it's almost like a cafeteria. You go in there and you push a button, you order what you want. There's chefs, obviously, still making the food, but there's robots doing that now, too. There's a robot that can make hundreds or thousands of burgers in an hour that they're using in different places around the country and trying to retool and tinker with to make it even more efficient. And pretty soon that'll put all the people behind in the kitchen out of business. But right now, the only people in this entire restaurant, you never see them. They're behind the scenes, and they are making the food. You order the food, it comes out in like a Foot Locker, and it turns green or it buzzes you or something happens when your food is ready, and you slide a door, you pull out your meal, and there it is, nice and hot. They're cold if it's a salad or whatever you're ordering. You can go into this restaurant right now in San Francisco, California, without ever interacting with a human being. There's, I think, someone there for safety or a guard or somebody making sure the wheels are spinning and things like that. But that is happening because of increases in the minimum wage. There's no question about it. What happens when the person on the lower end of the educational, of the experience level starts making $15 an hour? Right out of high school, $15 an hour, no skills, no communicative skills, because everybody's doing this all day long. They're great with their thumbs. They could do like thumb wars all day long, but they can't look you in the eye at an interview. What happens when those people make $15 an hour? What happens to the people that were making $15 an hour, that had education, that had more skills? What happens to them? Nobody ever talks about the next tier up. So if the lowest level is making $15 an hour, what about the people already making $15, $16 an hour? They're going to now make $18, $19, $20 an hour? What about the people making $20 an hour when the people making $15 make $20? Do you see how this is all going to snowball? It makes no logical sense, because the people making $15, $16 an hour now, with an education and with skills, will be very resentful of the kid out of high school who can't even speak English properly. And I don't mean foreigners. I just mean American-born who don't know how to speak English. It's all kind of this, laid-back speak that a lot of people talk. You can't even understand what they're saying half the time. It has nothing to do with culture or anything like that. And what happens when they start smacking their lips at work and saying, you know what, hey, I'm making $15 an hour now. I barely made it out of high school. I barely have a diploma. I never had a job before, and I'm making $15 an hour. See, none of this makes sense. Restaurants have to recoup that price. Another lesson that liberals somehow can't get into their thick heads, their thick skulls. And that is, if it costs me X amount of money to run my business, and now I'm paying everybody double what they were making yesterday, or 20% more than they were making yesterday, or even 5% or 10% more. Where does that money come from? Is the restaurant owner supposed to get a paper route? Is the business owner supposed to get a second or third or fourth job when they're already putting 18 hours, 20 hours a day into their business already? What are they supposed to do? Where do they get that money? Here's an example, and I want you to digest this, and I want this video to go out there. I don't expect it to go viral because it's not a picture of it's not a video of a cat. It's not a video of a young woman taking her blouse off, so it's probably not going to go viral. I'm not going to set myself on fire, and I'm not going to down a bunch of cinnamon. So if I can get a few thousand people to watch this video, that would be great. Here's an example. Throw it to any liberal that wants to increase the minimum wage and loves when the government gets involved in dictating to a business how much they should pay their employees. Give them this scenario, and I'll leave you with this. And I would love if somebody would have the guts to run this by Ocasio-Cortez. Let's say I have 6 children, all right? 5 are teenagers. 1 is acting like one already, and she's 10. Okay, Gingy, I love you. Please go easy on daddy as you get older. Please, prom and dating. Please, la, 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 la. Okay. Here's the thing. You have a child. Let's just pretend you have a child. Maybe you do have a child. You pay them an allowance. Okay, imagine with 6 kids, if they were all getting allowances and doing stuff, we'd be broke. So you have a kid, let's say they're 13 years old, and you pay them an allowance to mow the lawn. Let's say you pay them $5 to mow the lawn. Every Friday after school, they come home, they mow the lawn. $5. Well, how would you feel, you good liberals out there who want to push the minimum wage down everybody's throat? How would you feel if the government passed a law that said, you know what, kids in blah blah state, or kids across the country, let's say, have to get paid 9.25 for mowing the lawn, almost double the 5 you're already paying them, not quite, but almost $9.25 every time they mow a lawn? How would you feel about that, and what would your end result reaction be? I think 100% of liberals out there would say, "Oh my God, what are you doing? I can't afford to pay my 13-year-old $9.25 an hour, $9.50 an hour to mow the lawn. Are you kidding me, man?" That's a reaction. Two, I can't afford that. Where am I? Is the government going to subsidize that? Where am I going to get that extra almost $5? They're almost doubling the price of mowing my lawn. My lawn's the same square footage. It's the same amount of labor. Why is it double? Because the government thinks it has a right to do that. Why? Because you've given them that right. Liberals keep voting people in. They keep passing laws that say you have to force a company to pay somebody more. You don't like it when it's in your own backyard. You don't like it when it's literally in your own backyard and your kid goes from $5 mowing the lawn to 9.25. You don't like being told what to do. I don't either, man. I'm all about freedom, man. I don't like the government telling me how much I should pay an employee or how much I should pay my kid. But that's an example. Use that with all your pro-minimum wage hike people and ask them if it came down to them. If they were told that they had to pay their cleaning lady double the amount, if they had to pay their children double the amount to wax the car, mow the lawn, or take out the garbage, or make their beds, or paint the house, or do whatever they're doing, see how they would feel about that, how they would justify it. Where would that extra money come from? Families are struggling as it is. So if you had to pay your kid $9.25 to mow the lawn, you know what the answer is? You would pay a professional lawnmower to do it for just about that much or more, maybe double more, but you'd have a professional doing the edging, and your lawn would actually look like a professional did it instead of your 13-year-old daughter or son. That's what many people would do. Other people would just say, F it, I'm going to mow the lawn myself. I'm not paying you $9.25 to mow the lawn that yesterday you were mowing for $5. So that is the example. Give it to your friends, the ones shoving the minimum wage down everybody's throats. And here's one more thing I'm going to leave you with. And I hope, by the way, if you like what you're seeing, if you like the thoughts coming out of my mind, that you will subscribe to my podcast. It's right up there on the screen. Patreon.com/Spencer Hughes. It's the Spencer Hughes Podcast and Adventures. You can get in for $1 a month. $1 a month can't get you the foam at the top of a coffee at Starbucks. You can't get if you say, can you scrape up that foam, that inch of foam on top of that person's latte or schmate or palate? Can I have that foam? They go, sure, it's $1. You can't get anything for $1 these days. You can't get a soda at a taco truck for $1. So for $1 a month, you can get this stuff mostly in audio. For the $1, you only get me in audio form. The $3 and up people get videos like this all the time, every day actually. So I hope you will sign up. I'm going to actually leave it at this. I want to keep this under 15 minutes, okay, for uploading purposes and for viewing purposes. I know you don't have all day. So I'm going to hold my other thought, and I'm going to come back to it in another video. But I will keep doing these videos as long as I see people watching them. If like 6 people watch this video, I'll do them once every couple months. If I see hundreds and thousands of people watching my videos, I will do them every day. I will do them every freaking day. Get the word out, my friends. We need common sense. We need more common sense and less socialism. We need more common sense and less bullshit. We need more common sense and less problems. And problems come from people like Ocasio-Cortez's fat skull and small brain, in my opinion, that keep wanting to shove these policies down our throats when it is hurting the very people she's trying to help. These people are all out of work. These employees at this coffee shop she loves in New York, she's lamenting the loss of the business. It's her policies that put those people out of work. Don't let anyone forget that. And give your friends that example of the lawn mowing. Your kid's going to go from $5 to $9.25 mowing the lawn, and see how many people are in support of crap like this. I'm Spencer Hughes, coming at you from beautiful Mason County, Washington. That's the forest that we own behind us, part of it, 5 acres. And I have never been happier in my life. I podcast every day. Please be a part of it. Again, it's on the screen. Sign up for as little as $1 a month. And we'll talk again real soon.